welcome back to my channel. My name is Shanice Reed and welcome to Read All About It, where beauty and confidence has nothing to do with age, gender, or size. Before we go any further, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell, and let me know how you're feeling down below. So, in my last video, I mentioned how my next video would be this story time right here. So this story time is about how I got robbed, basically. Like, my apartment was broken into. So, like I mentioned before, I was a resident director. My apartment was on the first floor. And my apartment was literally next to my office. Like, when I came out my apartment, I walked down 4 steps and I was at my office, okay? So, they were literally next door to each other. My apartment did not look like what you expected when you walked into the door. When you walk, like, the outside door, it looks like a regular dorm. But when you go in, it's 2 bedrooms, a full bathroom, a little living room, dining room section, a coat closet. Like, it don't look like a regular dorm. It don't look like a regular dorm room. It looked like an apartment. So if you ever entered my apartment like you were trying to rob like a regular room, once you entered my apartment, you knew it was mine. So just keep that in mind. It's like this story is so choppy. But okay, so one night, me and my boyfriend, we went to my mom's house because the next day I had a dentist appointment. So we went to my mom's house. This was in the middle of the week, okay? So keep that in mind. Middle of the week. So say if my appointment was Wednesday, we left Wednesday night, spent the night at my mom's house, came home Thursday night, okay? When we came home Thursday night, our front door, our apartment door was unlocked. So it was kind of fishy because this was around the time when COVID had just started. So no kids was on campus. Nobody was supposed to be on campus. Nobody was supposed to be there. The only people that was left on campus was like people that have like housing issues or like a special accommodation, basically. So nobody was on campus. So I'm thinking like, okay, babe, you left the door unlocked. He like, I did not leave the door unlocked. I locked the door. I'm like, it's no fucking way you didn't leave the door unlocked. Like, how the fuck else would it be left open, right? Okay, cool. So he like, I didn't leave it open, period. Also, if you see this in the background, it's my my mirror behind me. I'm sitting at my little vanity section. So boom, we go in the apartment. I go into the second bedroom. Now the second bedroom is where I used to record my YouTube videos. So you see all my clothes used to be in there, my shoes, everything used to be in there, right? When I go in there, those clothing racks that was in my background, they was on the floor. So I'm like, okay, like I'm not really paying it no mind because I put them together. So I'm like, okay, bitch, I'm not no handyman. I didn't think it was hard to put together. So I'm like, okay, maybe it fell over because I made 2 of them. The first one I made, it did tip over by itself. So the second one I made, I'm kind of like, okay, like it probably just tipped over by itself. I'm not really paying it any mind. Okay, cool. So now keep in mind, the rack that was on the floor is in front of my window in the second room. And the windows I never closed. I never closed the window in that second bedroom because that was kind of like my space. And when I record in there, when I did fashion hauls in there, like whatever I did in that room, I got hot. So I just left the window open because I didn't want to turn the air on because you would hear it in the background. So I just always left the window open. So keep that in mind as well. So I'm like, okay, the door is unlocked. My rack is on the floor. But I'm not really thinking nothing of it, you know. I'm just thinking, okay, my boyfriend left the door unlocked by accident. And then me, I just built the rack flimsy, right? So fast forward like a week or 2, my boyfriend had a death in his family. A major death at that. So this is a sad time, okay? So my boyfriend is going through a lot. Somebody very, very important in his family passed away. So we're about to go back to his mom's house just to, you know, be around family and just deal with the loss that they just experienced in their family, right? So I went to go put it, and it's like, it's funny to me because I figured it out by such a tragic situation, right? So I went to go put my Yeezys on, and my Yeezys aren't there. Now, mind you, I don't wear sneakers like that. I just started getting into sneakers. I had treated myself to a pair of Balenciagas and a pair of Yeezys for my birthday. And then my boyfriend bought me a pair of Yeezys for Christmas. So the pair of Yeezys he got me, I would call them like the original ones where it had like the blue, the yellow, the blue, the orange, the gray. I don't know the numbers, okay? But he got them off of Goat and it was like $480, right? So that, he got me that for Christmas. So I wanted to put on a pair of my Yeezys because I don't wear sneakers like that. So I just started getting into sneakers. So I'm like, okay, let me get some Yeezys, some Balenciagas. I started off cool. So as we're going through this tragic situation and I'm trying to get to where we're going to, you know, be around family and love, I realized my sneakers aren't there, right? So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, bag, and I felt so insensitive. I kind of didn't want to ask because he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's going through something. So I didn't want to seem like a insensitive ass person asking about fucking sneakers. But I had my sneakers stacked up. And if you look at some of my old videos, you'll see like my shoe boxes stacked up next to my racks. Both of my Yeezy boxes were going. The pair I bought myself and the pair my boyfriend got me. So I'm asking him, I'm like, did you see my sneakers? He like, no. I'm like, are they in the car? But I don't wear sneakers. I don't travel with sneakers. So I know they're not in the car. I know it's not at nobody's house, but I'm just trying to run through the scenarios in my head of where the fuck the sneakers could be, right? So he like, I'm like, somebody was in this fucking apartment. But when we came in and the door was unlocked and the rack was down, we checked the room. We checked, right? So all the TVs was there. Mind you, we got TVs, PlayStation 4s, the Wii, what else? Cameras. This camera I'm on, this camera was like fucking $800. Like, it's so many. My MacBook was in there. Like, it's so many important, expensive things in there that when we came in and the door was unlocked, I didn't think to fucking check for Yeezys. Like, bitch, if I'ma rob you, I'ma rob you. I'm not thinking about sneakers, right? Okay. So at this point, I realized, okay, somebody was in this motherfucking apartment. So I contacted our security guy, because like I said, I was a resident director, so I would email the camera people directly. Like, if I needed footage or something, I could just email them directly. The only time you couldn't email them directly to get footage is if it's a theft involved. At that point, you have to go through public safety, which is the on-campus police or whatever. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. So I contact public safety. I asked them to view some footage. So the days I gave them was incorrect, because like I mentioned in my other video, we used to go to my mom's house every weekend. So I couldn't pinpoint exactly the weekend, because I'm still thinking it had to be a weekend. But I forgot about my doctor's appointment. So when I sent the first weekend to the officer, she emailed me back. She said, we don't see anything on the video. So I went through my pictures and I looked at this picture at this one specific time. You know how I got the date and stuff? It was a weekday. I'm like, check this day. I emailed her back. I told her the correct date, which was a weekday at this point. She checked. 7 a.m. the next morning, I heard banging on my door. I'm like, what the fuck? I get her. I'm like, who is it? She was like, it's public safety. I gotta come check around. So she came in. She like, where was your sneakers at? I told her where it was at. And she asked me, did you leave the door unlocked? I said, no. What happened? She said, because we don't see anybody entering, but we see somebody exiting. What? Bitch, you saw somebody exit my apartment? So I'm like, what? So I showed her the window. I said, when I came in, my wreck was knocked over, but I wasn't thinking somebody climbed through the fucking window. So our windows, you know how regular windows go up and down? This is a dorm. These joints open like this, okay? So this is your window, right? If it's closed, it's just straight up like this. If it's open, you have to pull it open and it opens that way. So this means this motherfucker climbed up, okay? He climbed up the window. And mind you, the windows was some height from the ground. I was on the first floor, but it was like the heater and shit underneath, the HVAC system, all of that shit. So it wasn't just like the window was on the floor. Like, you had to climb. Even though I was on the first floor, you still had to climb. So this nigga climbed up whatever was outside of my window, climbed up my window to get in, and when he came in, he must have fell on the rack, okay? And the only reason why I feel like he didn't steal my Balenciagas is when he fell on the rack, he covered my shoebox. Because I was also packing for a trip around this time. So some of my shoes was near my clothes because I was like matching shit together. So when he fell on the rack, some of that shit fell on some of my sneakers or my shoes or whatever, because I'm pretty sure if he would have saw the Balenciaga box, he would have took that too. So I'm like, okay, what the freak is, like, I just couldn't believe it, right? So at this point, I don't know who it is, and I'm just struggling with the fact that somebody really invaded my personal space like this. And it's the fact that, you know, this, not saying it would have been right for you to steal from another resident or anything like that, but it's the fact that you know this is not a regular dorm room. Like, what? It's not making sense here. So I'm like, okay, boom. Now I'm asking her, I asked the officer, I'm like, who is it? She's like, you know, I can't tell you that, this, that, and the third. Alright, cool. At this point, I don't give a fuck. Just give me my $800 back, okay? I don't understand. So she was like, we know who it is. We're going to put a warrant out, this, that, and the third. I'm like, cool, okay? So at this point, it wasn't the fact that I tried to make it like a real case or whatever like that. It was just the fact that I was trying to confirm that somebody was actually in my apartment, which is why I even got public safety involved anyway, because, bitch, I needed to see footage, okay? So, like I mentioned before, I am out. At this time, I was a resident director. So, whenever things happen on campus, they'll send pictures to the RDs like, okay, does this person live in your building? Whatever, help us identify stuff. So, at this time, they sent the pictures to the RDs, but they don't... The only officer that knew it was a RD that got robbed was the officer I was working with. She ended up being out. So somebody else took over the case for a little bit, and I received the picture of who it was. Why did I know him? No. Like, not know his face. Not he was one of my residents. Not I seen him in passing. Like, I literally knew who it was. Like, he come to my office like, hey, Miss Reed, talking to me. I knew who this person was. And I know that he know it was my apartment. And the fact that nobody was supposed to be on campus and you just... And this is another thing too. He had to have been watching me, because a lot of times I'm in my apartment and my car is going, because me and my boyfriend share a car. So a lot of times, just because my car isn't there, that doesn't mean I'm not in the house. So the fact that the one time my car was actually going and I was actually going with my boyfriend, and you went into my apartment, you were watching me. And it was another person's room. He went into like 2 other rooms. And this only happened when you know I was going. Whew, child. Anywho. So some months probably went by because like I said, this was around COVID start. This is when COVID like really started. And you know, they wasn't locking up people or arresting people or executing warrants that wasn't like important basically. So like some months went by and then the officer ended up emailing me like he was caught off of something else and the warrant is now, I don't know, whatever the fuck it is when somebody get a warrant. I don't know, like they caught him basically for something else, but he still had the warrant for the whole situation. And they put a restraining order against him because he went to the university. So they put a restraining order against him towards me, if that makes sense. So he couldn't be around me. He couldn't be in my building while the case was active. And yeah, he couldn't be around me while the case was active. So he couldn't be in the building. But at this point, nobody was supposed to be on campus because of COVID. Any fucking way. So the case was happening or whatever, and it was like, would you be okay if he get community service and just pay you the money back or some shit like that? And I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Like, it is what it is. So they made him write me a letter. I wish I had the letter because I would have read that shit for y'all. But it basically was like, I'm sorry, Miss Reed. I was just being dumb. It was like a little paragraph. It wasn't even nothing of substance. It wasn't even like I did not feel genuineness coming from that letter. I feel like this was just something he did because it was court ordered. But at the end of the day, even if you didn't know who it was, right? At that point, when you start going to court and shit like that, you knew it was me. Like, it's every step of the way you knew it was me. But even if you didn't know up until you had to write the letter, you could have made that shit more sincere and more genuine because me and you had a little connection. Like, I knew who you was. I was cool with you. Like, you would come to my building all the fucking time. So it was like, at some point, it should have been a little bit more respect than that. You feel me? Like, even if, like, you could have found my number from somebody. You could have sent me a fucking email because I work for the university. Like, it was so many more ways to be apologetic. And I just feel like he sent this baby girl ass paragraph because it was court ordered. So anyway, he sent a little letter. Got it. He sent me a check. And I think he had to do 25 hours of community service. But I'm not 100% sure on that part. I don't even fucking remember. But after that, I was traumatized. Like, literally, I would make my boyfriend wait till I got off of work so I could go with him to work. Like, he could not leave me. I never opened the window again in there. I never opened the window again in there because I was so scared of leaving it unlocked. And it wasn't like I was scared like, oh, he gonna come hurt me. It was more so the fact, like, when somebody invades your personal space, you don't know what the fuck they did while they was in there. Like, I don't know what he did when he entered my apartment. Like, yeah, he stole 2 pairs of Yeezys. But was that all he really stole? Like, was that all he really touched? Like, when he came in here, what exactly did he do? Like, it's no way you come into my apartment, explore 2 rooms, a full bathroom, coat closet, living room, dining room, kitchen, and only took 2 pairs of Yeezys. It just, the math wasn't mathing, okay? So I was traumatized because I felt so invaded. Like, I felt like somebody had access to me and I wasn't a willing participant. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, I felt like I was robbed of so much more than fucking 2 pairs of Yeezys. The Yeezys, I don't even give a fuck about. Bitch, I didn't even buy the Yeezys over. I put that money on my fucking credit card bill. You know what I'm saying? It's not really about the fucking sneakers. It was the fact of you violated me. Like, that's all it came down to, is like, you really fucking violated me, you know? But I never seen him after that. And then, you know, After that, he tried to come back in my motherfucking building. Bitch, I told my RAs, like, he's not allowed to come here. They kept asking why. I'm like, he's not allowed to come in here. He knows why he can't come in here. It was just, it was ghetto. I hated it. Like, that was just a whole nother experience and a whole nother reason why just being an RD was not for me. It's just excess, too much excess to me. Not saying like, bitch, I move and I could still get robbed, but it's the fact that niggas feel comfortable doing shit like that to me because they could come back to school and I gotta move a certain way because I'm an RD. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I ain't really going to go too deep into the situation, but yeah, bitch, that was about the time that I literally got fucking robbed for 2 pair of Yeezys. I ain't never seen nothing more fucking dirty. Oh my gosh. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in my next video.